Hello, this is Impact. I'm Yalda Hakim. Seeking safety, the Ukrainians fleeing west as Russia's military offensive in the east intensifies. At a summit in Brussels, Ukraine's foreign minister lays out what he needs to fight Russia.
My agenda is very simple. It has only 3 items on it. It's weapons, weapons, and weapons.
The evidence of war crimes that shock the world, but can those responsible ever be brought to justice? I'll be talking to a war crimes expert, to the Prime Minister of Estonia, and to prominent Kremlin critic Garry Kasparov. That's all coming up here on Impact. Welcome to the program. The United States says Russian forces have withdrawn completely from around the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, but stress the area still remains under threat from Russian forces. The main focus of the Russian military is now the east of the country. The BBC has witnessed hundreds of thousands fleeing the Donbass region, where separatists have been fighting Ukraine for 8 years. OK, Prime Minister, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you.
That was Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas joining me there. Well, stay with us here on BBC News, because coming up next, in the next few minutes, we'll bring you a 30-minute special program focusing on allegations of war crimes in Ukraine. I'll be speaking to our correspondents on the ground, as well as representatives from within Russia who will give us the Russian point of view, as well as, of course, many people in Ukraine as well. So do stay with us for that special coming up in the next few minutes. In the meantime, you can get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at BBC Yalda Hakim, but don't go anywhere. We've got lots more coming up in the next few minutes. Welcome to this BBC News special programme. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be focusing on allegations that war crimes have been committed in Ukraine. From the early days of the Russian invasion, Ukraine's President Zelensky has accused Russia of war crimes. That charge has been echoed by officials from the US and its allies as the conflict has progressed. More recently, horrifying images of mass graves, bodies of bound civilians shot at close range, and reports of alleged atrocities in areas on the outskirts of Kyiv have sparked renewed claims of war crimes and calls for justice from the US, the EU and human rights organisations. Well, our Middle East editor Jeremy Bowen joins us live now from Kyiv. Jeremy, night after night, we've been watching your reports. You've been speaking to families, mothers, children, the elderly. It really is difficult to comprehend the horrors that they've witnessed. Richard Goldstone, thank you so much for joining us here on the
pleasure.
Well, we'll be back in the next few minutes with all the latest headlines, but that brings to an end our special here. Of course, you can get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at BBC Yalda Hakim. We will be back in the next few minutes with all the latest news headlines. Hello, this is Impact. I'm Yalda Hakim. Seeking safety, the Ukrainians fleeing west as Russia's military offensive in the east intensifies. At a summit in Brussels, Ukraine's foreign minister lays out what he needs to fight Russia.
My agenda is very simple. It has only 3 items on it. It's weapons, weapons, and weapons.
The evidence of war crimes that's shocked the world, but can those responsible ever be brought to justice? And we'll be live in Lviv for the latest and hearing from the prominent Kremlin critic Garry Kasparov and the Estonian Prime Minister. That's all coming up here on Impact. The United States says Russian forces have withdrawn completely from around the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, but stressed the area still remains under threat from Russian forces. The main focus of the Russian military is now in the east of the country. The BBC has witnessed hundreds of thousands fleeing the Donbass region, where separatists have been fighting Ukraine for 8 years. Indeed, it's a story that we keep hearing over and over again from those fleeing the fighting in Ukraine. Anna, thank you so much for bringing us up to date. Let's go straight to the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, who is speaking in Brussels at that NATO Foreign Ministers meeting. Have a listen.
The point is very simple. Euro-Atlantic security is indivisible.
You're listening there to Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, who is giving a statement following that NATO Foreign Ministers meeting. He said, and I quote, "Help us now or your help will come too late. Many people will die. Many civilians will lose their homes. Villages will be destroyed." He's referring to the weapons that they have asked for. They've asked for more weapons from NATO members and Western allies. Earlier in the day, he said there are 3 things that we're going to focus on, 3 requests that we have, and they are weapons, weapons, and weapons. And he has further reiterated that in that statement that he has just given in Brussels. Now let's go to the rest of the day's news. And voters go to the polls for the first round of the French presidential election this Sunday. French far-right candidate Marine Le Pen has gained momentum in recent days, with opinion polls showing victory for Le Pen is now within the margin of error. Le Pen will hold her last campaign rally this evening in the southern stronghold of Perpignan, where her National Rally Party has long had strong support and runs the local council. Now, a shirt worn by the Argentine footballer Diego Maradona when he scored his infamous Hand of God goal against England at the 1986 World Cup has been put up for auction. Maradona was wearing the number 10 shirt when he put Argentina ahead in the quarter-final match in Mexico by punching the ball into the net. The shirt is expected to fetch more than $5 million. However, there's controversy over the sale, as Maradona's family claims the shirt is the one he wore during the first half of the match, not the second half when he scored. We'll be back with all the latest headlines. You can get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at BBC Yalda Hakim. See you shortly. You're watching BBC World News. I'm Yalda Hakim. Let's go live now to Brussels, where Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, is currently speaking following the NATO Foreign Ministers meeting. Have a listen.
Russia's invasions are global and will be long-lasting. And what is happening in Ukraine is being closely watched around the world.
Okay, you're listening there to the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who was speaking at the NATO Foreign Ministers meeting in Brussels, an emergency meeting to discuss the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. He said that allies are providing a wide range of weapons to Ukraine as the country enters this new phase in this conflict. Of course, earlier we saw the Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, talk about the need for weapons now and urgently. He spoke earlier in the day and he said that we only have 3 requests, and they are weapons, weapons and weapons. Of course, we are following that meeting very closely. We will be bringing you more updates as they come. Now, the United States says Russian forces have withdrawn completely from around the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, but stress the area still remains under threat from Russian forces. The main focus of the Russian military is now the east of the country. The BBC has witnessed hundreds of thousands fleeing the Donbass region, where separatists have been fighting Ukraine for 8 years. That's it from me and the team here on Impact. We'll be back again next week. Goodbye for now.
Hello, red warning is in force for Thursday in Germany for a windy spell of weather.